And India win the second test, or should we say the second 1 day and a half international, and tie the series 1-1. Welcome to the shiny side. I'm your host Faris, and we have with us after quite a gap, I think, is Imran Aslam from Bahrain. How's it going, Imran?
Good, Faris. Good to be back with you. How are you?
I'm very well. And initial thoughts on what we've seen in Cape Town this week, or should I say again, these last day and a half again?
Day and a half. I mean, don't know what to make of it. Shortest completed test match in history, apparently. 640 odd balls. Yeah, I think we're going to talk quite a bit about the pitch and how it played out. It was kind of a lottery. I think India kind of got lucky with South Africa choosing to bat first, maybe.
Yeah.
And once they were 55 all out, I don't think there was any way to come back from that.
Yeah, so let me quickly do the 55-second summary for test matches, although we may not need that many. So yeah, South Africa won the toss, chose to bat the 55 all out. Siraj got 6 of 15. And essentially, that wasn't even the biggest talking point of the day, because India, in response, were 153 for 4, and they lost 6 wickets in 11 balls without adding a run. A lead of about 94 odd, 98 odd, and then South Africa, in response, brilliant 100 from Markram, made 176, but a target of 60 odd was never going to be a challenge for India, even on this track, and India won the test and leveled the series. 33 seconds, clearly 22 seconds in balance. But so this is India's first win at Cape Town. They've never won there before. The last time these two teams played, the highest score made by anybody was 230. So the highest inning score was 230. Clearly, this has gone to a whole different level. But before we get into the game itself, was this a substandard pitch? Or did Aiden Markram show us that it wasn't? Where do you sit on that?
I'm not sure if you should call it a substandard pitch, but I mean, it was definitely a very, very difficult pitch to bat on, right? I mean, for sure, there's no doubt about it. And yes, Markram and to an extent even Kohli showed that you can play on it, but it was definitely a very difficult pitch to bat on. It was like a lot of the players have come out and said it was a lottery. You know, I was just thinking, I can't help thinking that if we had seen something similar to this in India, imagine Australia or England or South Africa getting beaten on a raging turner in a day and a half. There would be a huge row about the kind of pitch and all of that. So, I mean, if you look at it like that, if you think of it like that, you know, if you're going to call a raging turner, which turns on day one, a substandard pitch, then yes, you can call this a substandard pitch as well. But I'm not sure if substandard is the right word to go for it. I think it's just a very, very difficult pitch to bat on, really.
Okay, and would you, I mean, I guess I'm not sure where I sit on that, right? Because I feel like it was a very difficult pitch. I think from what the players are saying, so on one end, from where Siraj was bowling, the ball was kind of keeping low. From the other end, where Nagidi came into those 3 wickets in an over, it was kind of actually rising more than usual. So I think it was a bit, obviously it was hard to play, but I guess I think if the game is ending in a day and a session, I just feel like I don't think it's just poor technique or the batsman not preparing, etc. I feel like that has to be looked at, right? So again, I'm not saying it's any worse than what we saw in Chennai, perhaps against England a couple of years ago, right? Where no one scored more than like 200 or so. But clearly not the ideal track in my view, because I'm all for these tracks where bowlers have resistance, and I love those 250 plays, 220 matches, but I'm not sure if I love a 150 plays, 55 game, right? Because clearly that's not how you want to watch cricket. But do you think South Africa, and with full benefit of hindsight, do you think they made the wrong call at the toss, or would it made no difference really?
I think it was the wrong call, right? I mean, it seemed like I think even on the face of it before they started playing, it seemed like a wicket that would do something. I think South Africa was banking on, you know, getting through the first hour or so and then the pitch easing out. But, you know, given what happened in the previous test match, given that you have the Indian batting under pressure, given the quality of fast bowling that you have in your ranks, why would you not bowl first on a wicket that's going to give you some help? I really have to, I think, question that.
Yeah. Makes sense. And if you look at India's bowling, so Siraj clearly, I mean, you know, Siraj I think his best spells are always with the new ball. He bowled 9 overs unchanged first up. So great testament to his fitness as well. And again, he took 6 of the first 7 wickets. I think the other thing which India got right is last time around, I thought India played the wrong choice of bowlers, where they had Siraj and Bumrah, but then they played Prashith Krishna and they played Shardul Thakur. So they didn't really have an effective third bowler. But here, they brought Mukesh Kumar in, who's actually done quite well. He took about 4 or 5 wickets in the game across both innings. So I think that was the right call, and he was well supported. And Prashith again was not that effective, right? So I guess it kind of showed how India perhaps got the bowling combination wrong even in the last game. Um, how would you rate Siraj's performance, or do you think it's purely down to Siraj's performance purely down to the conditions?
No, I don't think you can say it's purely down to the conditions, right? Obviously, he was bowling in helpful conditions, but even if you are bowling in helpful conditions, you have to put the ball in the right areas. You have to, have everything right to be able to get that seam movement that he was getting, right? So yes, it was helpful conditions, but in that kind of seam movement, moving the ball both ways, being consistent in your line and length, not giving anything away to the batsman, So you're picking up a fifer in like the first 10 overs of you're definitely doing something right. So yes, he got lucky that he had helpful conditions, but definitely cannot take anything away from the effort on his part and the quality of bowling that he showed.
And if you look at with the bat, right, other than Markram, clearly nobody from South Africa got runs. I think the highest score anyone has scored in either innings is 12, other than Markram, right? So clearly that's the big issue. I think he played one of the best knocks you'll see. But on the other hand, on the Indian side, you had Kohli in both innings scoring 40 odd. I think Rohit scored 40, Rohit 40 in the first innings, and then Gill also scored 40, right? So there are 3 guys showing up with some numbers. And I feel like had one of those guys not played, it could have been a very different game with 40 more to get. But I think the fact that nobody from South Africa showed up with the bat, I guess, other than Markram.
Yeah, obviously, the first innings, you're getting bowled over for 55. I mean, obviously, so it's definitely always going to be very, very hard, if not impossible, to come back from that situation. And clearly, nobody coming in scoring or anything of note in the first inning. And then again, in the second innings, like you said, Markram was the only one who got this outrageous 100, really. Other than that, obviously, the batting has not nothing to note, right? Unfortunately, Dean Elgar had a poor last test match. Would have liked to see him go out at least getting some good runs. He had a poor last test match, but I think around Elgar, right, there's a lot of inexperience now keeping Markram, Elgar, a couple of the other side. There's a lot of inexperience in the South African batting as things stand right now.
And some of those guys did well in the first game, but they couldn't really do it here, I guess, the inexperienced guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that inexperience is started to show, right? Somebody like Kohli, obviously, fine, Kohli is a different level and different class, but also obviously the experience that you have goes into helping him play the kind of knock that he played, especially in the first inning. So obviously, I think the inexperience also showed on South Africa's part, especially in the second inning.
I feel like they didn't miss him in the first game so much, but they definitely missed Bavuma, right? Because he's an experienced guy, campaigner. He's the kind of guy who would try to survive and perhaps hold up an end. So I think that could have easily given them a few more runs. The guy who they replaced him with, the choice options were Stubbs, who's more of a known to be a T20 aggressive batsman, and Zubair Hamza. Now, Zubair Hamza, Stubbs has made his test debut, actually. Zubair Hamza has played a few games for averages 18, but he's more of a traditional kind of batsman. So I guess South Africa would probably question in hindsight whether they made the right call on a very tough track, whether Stubbs was the right guy to bat it for them or not. And the other thing South Africa did was, in the last game, they played 4 quicks and no spinner. Here, they played 4 quicks and a spinner. So they were a batsman short, essentially. They dropped Keegan Peterson, who's, again, been playing in the test middle order regularly. So, again, in hindsight, but it clearly seemed like the wrong call on this track, right? Maharaj was really not much purpose here.
Yeah, I know. I don't see, again, given India's struggles with the bat in South African nation, I'm not sure why you needed to beef up your bowling and go for a 5th bowler to start with. I don't think it was needed at all, right? I mean, you'd be okay playing just 4 bowlers and banking on them to do the job.
As far as India is concerned, would you say Shreyas Iyer is a problem? Because I feel like everybody else contributed to some extent. Jaiswal is new. But I feel like Iyer seems to be the kind of guy who just, when things are flat and there's not too much pressure, he does very well in India. But I think other than that, be it a World Cup final, be it a critical test match, I just feel like, I'm not sure if he has the grit, and I mean, he may have the skills in the shot, but I'm just not sure if he has what it takes to be an Indian top 6.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think he's definitely at this point the weakest link in that batting lineup. Obviously, they've got a strong lineup around him. He hasn't had a great World Cup either, and again in this series, he hasn't done well. Duck in the first innings, came in at the end, didn't really need to do much in the second inning. But I think, when if India had lost a couple of wickets earlier and I had to come in a difficult situation, it might have made things a bit tricky for them. So I think, yeah, definitely he is at this point a weak link in that lineup, and I'm sure there will be question marks and thoughts around potential replacements coming in.
Yeah.
But obviously, they have a strong bench strength for
Yeah.
sure, no doubt about it.
So I guess India again have drawn the series. This is the final frontier, the only country they haven't won a series in, and that I guess the wait continues. Not sure if Rohit and Kohli will be around the next time they visit, whenever that is. So let's see how that plays out. India's next series is now with England in 20 days. They play 5 tests at home. So that's again. By the way, in terms of where cricket is and so on, is a quick point. I just realized yesterday that the last series that was played between of 3 matches or above that did not involve India, Australia, or England was actually 4 years ago, Pakistan, South Africa. No series that doesn't involve these 3 teams has been 3 games even. So again, that was a bizarre stat. I never realized that, but it
Not
clearly
even
looks
three
like
games,
not
or
even 3
more than
games,
three.
not even 3 games.
Really?
So all test series other than India, other than those involving the big 3, have been 2 games in the last 4 years.
Wow.
So, but I think speaking of which, I think we have to talk about the South Africa upcoming series against New Zealand. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. I'm sure you've heard but South Africa announced that because it's overlapping with the SA20, they are sending a second string side. I think 7 debutants in that side, and again a lot of noise. Steve Waugh and a bunch of other guys saying it's horrible for test cricket, etc., etc. What's your take on the matter?
I think I have to agree with that, right? I don't agree with the mindset of sending in 7 debutants into a tour to New Zealand just because you need your primary players for your T20 league. Fine, those leagues are important, and obviously they're the cash cows for all of these boards these days. But still, you have to somehow balance it out. Maybe look at scheduling better, etc., or a better balance. But I think I don't agree with the philosophy of
I
sending
think I
7
agree.
debutants.
I actually really dislike what's happening, but I think the issue is not what's happening today. The issue is what happened 10 odd years ago when the whole big 3 and so on was done, right? So I think there's no point crying about it today. I think the whole idea was there should have been way more reaction 10 years ago when the way cricket evolved, all the money is going to 3 countries who can afford to do these things, right? Because South Africa, for them, a test series they make absolutely no money on. And for them, they're literally the cash cow at the moment is SAT20. So I have, while I feel like it's horrible that this is happening to a test tour, and by the way, South Africa have never lost a series home or away to New Zealand. So that's how easy it is for them to kind of give up that record. But I just feel like it's unfortunate, but I think it's more about the economics of the game and what's been happening over the last 10 years rather than what's happening right now. So that's cricket actually issued a statement saying that this is a one-off and there was no way New Zealand were able to reschedule before the cycle ends for this round of this World Test Championship. So it probably will not happen again, but it's a sign of things to come, right? And it should really raise alarm bells, if not.
Yeah, I agree. It is for sure.
Before we wrap up very quickly, did you hear what Ravi Shastri had to say on commentary right when India lost 6 wickets?
No, I did not.
He said something along the lines of, if India had lost 4 wickets and you went to take a beep in the bathroom and came back, the game would have been over. So I will encourage you and everybody watching to please go and watch that clip. And even the commentators in the Pakistan-Australia game were talking about it, by the way. So in terms of what Shastri said and whether he was that angry or whether he was that lubricated, we don't know. But there was clearly something unusual about what he said in that game.
Interesting. Yeah,
but,
that's interesting. Yeah.
For those of you watching, if you have a view on the pitch and where do you think it stands, please leave a comment. And if you like what we're talking about, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back. We'll be back, I guess, after the Pakistan Test match to see how that does. Imran, thank you for being on the show again.
Thank you for having me, Faris.
And for those of you watching, stay tuned to the shiny side.